Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. And happy St. Patrick's Day, or belated St. Patrick's Day, depending on when you are watching this. I have managed to charge into March and push past all of the obstacles to making a video that I was afraid would be in place. And I'm now sitting down to share with you what I've been up to this last couple weeks. I'm back to spinning, and I have actually made it outside a bit. We have had very March-like weather, inconsistent, warm some days, and blustery cold other days, even a little tiny dusting of snow. But it has been a much more positive and less stressful March than I had anticipated back in February. So I'm very pleased with that. And in addition to, I've been working on my quilts and doing a lot of hand quilting, but I've also finally been spinning a spinning project I started last year, and actually technically 2 years ago, when I dyed a bunch of fiber using the dyes that I created from pecan shells and from walnut husks and and some lichen from some of the tree branches that tend to come down every year when the wind blows, especially in months like March. I will throw the caveat, I have a cat or two running around as usual. For some reason, when they hear me talking to the camera, they think, ooh, we've got to come and see what Mom's doing. But as I said, I've been able to get back to a spinning project that I started. I started doing the spinning, I think, last year, just before Tour de Fleece. Trying to remember is, I would have to go back and look at the different videos that I posted to know exactly when I started spinning it. But I had managed to spin up one hank of yarn. And actually, if you hold on just a minute, I will go grab that hank. Okay, I'm back. So I started spinning up one of the hanks of fiber. As I said, I think it was before Tour de Fleece. And I ended up getting about, well, this says 360 yards, about 4.8 ounces, or 138 grams. And I ended up getting this, it's kind of a barber pole-esque. I had pulled apart the hanks of fiber and had little sections of three different of the colors, and then I just randomly spun them together, and I ended up getting this. And so initially I think I was thinking of doing a 3-ply, but when it came time to plying this fiber, it's fluffy. It's a just a merino wool that I purchased way back now, a couple years ago, when I was getting ready to do my Christmas countdown collection of fibers and yarns for my kids. So it's just a basic merino that I purchased from a company that had it milled, and it's fluffy. It's a little, it's spun thicker than I realized it was going to spin. So I'm trying to just now make the rest of it match something that I spun up now over a year ago. So this fiber that I dyed, I had collected some black walnuts, I had collected some pecans because we have trees all around us, and I decided to try to make my own dye from it with varying success. And I ended up getting some different color variations. And the lichen, which I found really interesting, the lichen, the way that I'd processed it, it gave a very pretty yellow. And if you look here, this is actually, you've got the yellow that's the lichen, the pecan, and the walnut. And I did get varying shades depending on how long I left the wool in, etc. But In this bobbin, what I've done is I've just spun sections of each one, so it kind of creates a self-striping. But I don't want a self-striping yarn. So I'm going to ply this with different variations of the wool, because when I was dyeing the fiber, I was just ripping off sections. So some of the stuff I dyed was 2 ounces, some of it was 4 ounces. I wasn't being, I wasn't too particular about how much each section of fiber was. It was more to see how the colors turned out. And then I figured I'd be able to do something like this. So I have these 3, and these are all walnut and pecan variations, because I didn't have as much of the lichen. But when I took and combined some into this self-striping, as you can see, I ended up with just over a bobbin. And so I'm going to take this, ply this with these solids, because I'll have sort of a self-striping, but it'll be very muted. So that's what I've been doing with the with that fiber. I wanted to share, so because this fiber was dyed in a dye bath that, well, I wasn't being as careful, and it's been sitting in a bin now for almost 2 years, over 2 years, it became a little compressed. And I wanted to share with you one of the ways I deal with, and as you can see, it's become very compressed. And it feels a little like, you know, maybe it's a little felted, but it's just compressed. It's just, you know, stuck together a little. And so one of the things that I'll do as soon as I open up a braid of fiber is I'll come through and just start opening it up. Now, this fiber, I have, as I've been opening up, some of it is really compressed over the time. And so normally I come along, and this is even with a purchased braid of dyed fiber, I'll come along and try to open up the whole hank. And this is actually still only half of a 4-inch braid. But I'll come along, fluff it up again, okay? Now, honestly, this fiber is a fiber that has become compressed so much that I'd probably be better off if I actually got out the hand carders or the drum carder and ran it through and carded it a little bit. But I also know with the fineness of the merino, if I overwork it too much, if I'm not careful, I'll get a lot of pilling. So I'm kind of deciding that maybe just the hand fluffing works more than the advantages of carding it again don't outweigh just simply opening up and fluffing, because the disadvantage of carding is I could end up with more pilling, more kind of issue with that unless I'm very, very careful. So in this case, I am successfully opening it up if I'm patient enough to do it ahead of time. If I'm not patient enough, if I don't sit down and take the time to really open up and fluff, then when I start spinning, what I get is much more like this. And it doesn't draft very well, and I'm constantly having to fidget with it. So I would do better if I were more patient and spent just a little bit more time before starting to spin, before pulling anything off, just opening it up. Because it is much easier to open up the full braid than it is to, say, split off a section like that, and open it up. At least for me, because there's not as much for me to grab onto. So I do find it's just a little bit better to have done it ahead of time. But you know, when you're sitting down and you're watching TV, especially when you're sitting down and watching TV with other members of your family who don't want to pause the TV and pause the program so that you can get up, do something, sort stuff out, we tend to not take the time to prep as much as we should. Good practices go out the window in order to have peaceful TV time with others. So that's what I'm doing. It's just going to be, again, a 2-ply. I'm aiming for similar wraps per inch as this. I'm not terribly concerned if there's some variation. I can always split the skeins and knit them up more randomly in order to spread around the different variations. My goal with this is to probably make another sweater for my daughter. Not that she needs a sweater, because being in the tropics, the last thing she really needs is another sweater. But the colors and everything, I thought it'd be something she might enjoy. And she does like the little hoodie sweaters that I make. So it's just an ongoing, how do I use something that I was experimenting with before. And it's an enjoyable spin, I have to say. Sometimes having something that I'm not thinking about a ton, not worried about a ton, it is a nice break. I do find spinning from, I do find that spinning this merino can be, well, it's not, I don't have to think very much. I don't have to concentrate very much, and that can be a very big plus. But it also can be boring. So right now, spinning a fiber that isn't challenging, or the only challenge about it is opening it up because it's compressed. That's actually been a nice way to get back into spinning after kind of my little bit of a break since the Vlogmas spin that I did. So the other updates, as I said, it is definitely March, and we are having a crazy March. I am just in awe of the way that Mother Nature has made itself known this March worldwide. Seeing the flooding and the devastation that Mother Nature has brought to many parts of the world has been very, awe causing. It's devastation, but it's also such a reminder that there's things in life we can control, and then there's things in life we really can't control. And that's been a reminder that I've needed this month, because it puts things in a little bit more perspective. And we have not had nearly the kind of weather issues that other parts of the world have had, but we've had our fair share of wind, and we had a third tree come down on our property just 2 weeks ago, I think it is now. And wow. So I had gotten up early, and I was in the sewing room, and I don't even think I'd had the lights on. I think I was just turning on our pellet stove because it was cold. And all of a sudden, I just heard this huge gust of wind. And it really shook me, because having spent so many years on the eastern plains of Colorado, I'm accustomed to big winds. And there was just this huge gust of wind, and it sounded as if our trash can had been blown across our driveway, which didn't make a lot of sense because of the way we have our trash can contained. And it just unnerved me to such a point that I went and I woke my husband up and I said, I really think you need to go out and check, because that just didn't sound right. Well, yeah, it wasn't a trash can. We live along a creek, and there had been a number of trees in the species of ash that had grown up along the creek over the decades. And I guess there was some sort of blight that came in and killed them all. Well, we've lost 3 of them this winter so far. But this, and in each time they've come down, they've come closer to taking down power lines. And they were in a position that the only way to take them down would have risked taking down power lines. So we'd already had the power company come out and fix the yard light once. We already had the power company come out and remove a tree from some lines. We had already cleaned up and removed most of 2 of the down trees that we'd had up to this point. But that morning, one of the trees came down, snapped the thing down close to the base, about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, snapped the thing completely across, and it came down very much so on the power lines. And it was a big, heavy tree, and it took out, not just taking down the power lines, but broke 2 of the power poles that the line was attached to. It didn't affect our power directly, because it's power lines that go from, the main line comes over onto my property and then crosses goes along the side of our property to the neighbor. So, and it didn't actually break the power line. So it was another reminder, you just do not mess around. You always get the power company to come out, because when the power company did come out, they tested the line and it was a live line. So they ended up turning off the power for a number of hours while their crew came out. And we'd been informed that the crew had actually been at was already at 2 other locations. And this was like at 5 a.m., 5:30 that I called the power company. And so it was a day. But yeah, it snapped. The power of that tree, the power of the wind blowing that heavy tree into the line, it snapped 2 power poles. And one of the power poles was really quite new. So we had quite the excitement. But because of that, I've actually gotten outside, and while I can't do nearly as much as I would like to, I can go and drive around our little lawn tractor, little mower that has a wagon attached, and I'm able to help my husband remove the logs after he's cut it. So I got some outside time. Spent some time outside, spent some time in the sun and the wind, got a little tiny bit of color in my cheeks, and it was great. I think it was also some of the therapy that I needed. So sometimes Mother Nature really can give us some brutal life to live through. And sometimes Mother Nature is exactly the thing that we need in order to move forward, overcome, feel a little bit better. In my case, I always laugh. I said, I don't melt when it rains, but I definitely melt if I have the sun. I don't enjoy being out in the sunshine very much. I shouldn't say that. I don't enjoy the after effect of being outside for long periods of time. I definitely enjoy the fun of being out in the fresh air and driving my little lawn tractor around and making my husband laugh as I'm silly and foolish, as I pretend like it's my race car. I do enjoy that. So while Mother Nature has been being extraordinarily unfriendly for so many, it has helped me remember how to keep things in a little better perspective as I have gone through this first half of March. And because of that, I'm back to spinning, and I'm feeling better, and I'm making a video, and I've been cleaning. My husband took a week off work because we were anticipating some things in the beginning of March that might need him to be around, and because it ended up being better, we were able to handle the tree. He was home for that, but also we've been doing a lot of little tiny things that have been put off that are the settling into the home. This is our 5th March in Virginia, and we're finally feeling settled. I cleaned closets. And anybody who's a crafter knows that when you say you've cleaned your closets, it's not that you are doing housework. It's more that you're organizing your stash. And it feels good. This March, I can really, truly say it feels good to do a little bit of sorting and, as my husband says, reacquainting myself with my stash. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, not have it go too long. The last thing I did want to mention is I'm wearing a blouse that I have made. So you may, in the next few videos, over this next year, you may see me wearing some different items of clothing, and I hope to remember to tell you about them. But this is the first one I've tried. It's a pattern company called Cashmerette. They're out of the UK, and they are wonderful for well, they have sizes for everything, but they are especially wonderful for curvy figures. And I am challenging myself to learn how to sew clothing for myself, my new older body. And I have done a little bias binding trim that I've never done fully, completely, 100% on the sewing machine, as opposed to resorting to some hand stitching. I'm really pleased. And of course, it's hand dyed. So, you know, I have to play with the color, and I will be playing with the color, but I'm challenging myself because I'm trying to remember my skills that are a little rusty, never having any real formal training other than what I've watched on TV and read from a pattern. But I'm going to be challenging myself to learn how to sew with knits and sew clothing for me with knits. My goal is to transition away from a lot of the purchased clothing that I have to stuff that I've made for myself, made out of more natural materials because it just feels more comfortable. And to make clothing that I feel good in, that I feel confident in, that I feel comfortable in, that is my, helps me feel good about myself. Because life has changed and I have changed, and I want to be confident and comfortable more often than not. And so that's my goal. So that's one of the things I'll be also mentioning, I think, over this upcoming year is my my clothing process. And being with that, having clothing that I feel comfortable in on my days that I hurt and on the days that I hurt less. That is also one of the keys. And figuring that out, figuring out how to accomplish that goal, that is a huge challenge. And anyone who understands firsthand the struggle of getting dressed, not because of a lot of the reasons people sometimes may not want to get out of their pajamas, but getting dressed because it, when it hurts. Anyone who experiences that, anyone who knows what I'm talking about, when you've gone through a major physical change, major change in the way you look, will know that if we can find a way to get dressed where it doesn't hurt and it emotionally isn't a challenge, then we have accomplished something really, really big. So that is one of the challenges that I have set for myself, and I will be fully honest. I am a little bit scared. I'm a whole lot anxious, but I have a lot of support from my family, and I just truly believe that if I want to learn how to do something, if I want to accomplish something, and I give myself the time and space to do it, then I can. So that's my update. I hope your March is on the better side, not the rougher side. I hope that whatever you're dealing with, you can find a way to find a little joy and unwind with some fiber and some fabric in whatever way suits you. But that's what I'm up to, and I'm just really happy. I'm just really joyful that I've been able to put together this video for you here in the middle of March and all of its madness. So until I make the next video, I am wishing you the very, very best, and I hope you take some time to unwind, whether it's along with my video or on your own. I do say best unwinding, and we'll see you soon.